scratch all here to give us a good rough up. We will have something for our adhesive to adhere to, as previously discussed and thoroughly exhausted. But I appreciate you guys listening to me. Sometimes I get to rambling on when I get to working because I'm trying to pay attention to what I'm doing. And I find myself just rambling on, so I apologize for that. Anyway, thank you so much for sticking with me through these videos, thick and thin. It'll be worth your while, especially if you don't know how to do leather, because I'm going to teach you. I'm going to show you how to do leather. And it's something I never got when I first got in the leather business, especially for free. But at some point, I'd like to sell some sort of a beginner's master class or something, where I can make a little bit of money off of it so I can buy some more gear, which will basically be used to teach you guys more content. So I'm basically just taking that money and putting it right back into this channel, which is what I'd like to do. I enjoy doing these videos. I enjoy leather work. I'm thinking, since I'm already doing the leather work, I might as well teach somebody else and enjoy it. And then I can't wait to see what you guys make. So once things get rolling along and you guys make something out of your leather projects, as I have taught you, I would love to see them. We'll put them on the channel. Yeah, we'll put them on the channel here. We'll splash them all over the channel and give you a little bit of exposure. That's what it's about. Friends helping friends. Okay. So, after a while, these contact cement cans get sticky. And you've got to clean these edges off around here. These edges, they have to get cleaned off, and it's the way it is. So while we're waiting on that to dry up a little bit, we can go ahead and start this other little project. Remember this? So we cut that, and just another little wallet that we can use. And so basically, this thing's going to just be folded in half, like so. And then it's going to just be a little pocket. And you'll just stitch this down here, stitch it down there, and there's your cool little handheld card pocket. So you can use it for credit cards or bills or whatever you have. So Let's go ahead and line this thing up. Might as well go ahead and get it lined up here. Yeah. And so what we're going to do is take these little clips that you can buy at the little office supply store, whatever your favorite one is. This is a little uneven here, so I'm just going to take my blade here and just go ahead and even that dude up right there, like so. And we'll go ahead and give it a little bit of sand. So as you're working on projects, you can work on a couple different projects at the same time, especially while you gotta wait for glue to dry. That's the name of the game in the leather world. You're waiting on glue to dry. It happens a lot. It's kind of hilarious. Talk to people and you'll say, "Hey, what'd you do today?" "I was waiting on glue to dry." "Oh, okay." That's always funny. I did have a bunch more of these clips right here, but my wife came and said, "Hey, can I borrow a few of these?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." But she took all of them but one. And I think she didn't take that one because it wasn't in the little holder that I have. I found this one somewhere else. That's okay. Hopefully I inspired her and gave her a good idea. Or should say some good ideas of what you can do with that. So I always like to just turn this over, kind of look at it from all different angles. Make sure that make sure that's nice and smooth. And then you remember our little squeezy tool that we use to. Now, I'm going to show you guys one thing. On full grain leather, if I were to squeeze this and go ahead and flatten that out a little bit, take the roundness out of that, it could crack this leather here a little bit. Crack that grain. And then could kind of ruin the exterior of the grain side. So what you do to prevent that is to put a little water on the inside just take a little bit of water and do what they call case your leather. So on the inside right there where that bend is going to be, you just case your leather right there, and that groove's going to be, and then that gets in there and lubricates and loosens that up so that when you go to smash it down, it doesn't crack the grain. If you crack the grain on this side, you'll see it. It looks like cracks. And then once you do that, the leather is pretty much ruined. You know, it's no longer smooth. See, the skin is smooth. And everything is very flexible. Because this is basically the skin of the animal. This right here is the skin of the animal. Sorry, I went off camera there, didn't I? This is the skin of the animal. So what I did was here was I cased this on the inside. And so casing that on the inside will help it. You can see it's starting to come through a little bit on this, on the exterior already. We don't necessarily want that. You don't really want to put that much on there, but it will kind of tend to happen a little bit. And that's okay. It won't hurt anything. So now that we've cased the leather, once we take and we pinch our leather to get a little better fit. Now it doesn't crack the grain. Makes it still nice and smooth, which is really good. That's what we want. And so now we will just prepare this one the same way we did the other one. We'll just get it ready to glue. And so these are kind of some little, making these little wallets. If you're going to sell these at like car shows or events, these are some nice little quick things you can make out of your scraps, or you can just make them intentionally out of your good leather. Because people will buy these for just, like I said, to business cards, or put their credit cards in there and fold their money up and stuff everything in one little pouch. You get those, you've seen those guys that just take everything and put a rubber band around everything. That's what these are for. These are for the rubber band guys. The guys that just put rubber bands around everything, and or that just, you know, like a money clip. Especially if the money clip isn't fancy schmancy, or, you know, have a real high-end look to it. Milton just to lean toward putting a rubber band around it or something. Their money in their cards, so they could take something like this and carry it, and then at least looks good. All right, so now we've got this is ready to glue up. So the best way to do these is to work off the corner and work our way up, and then work our way around. That's the best way to tackle this, because you want the corners to marry up, and then you want to work back toward the middle and then work out. So when you're doing all three sides, you want to start at one edge and at least get this corner in. Then as you flatten it through here, make sure that this other leather rides right along that line, very, very even. And then make sure that this corner here marries up with this corner here really well. And that'll give you a nice looking. And so what I do is put 2 fingers, again, one on this edge, one on this edge. That gives me 2 edges. And then just stick this piece of leather in there until this feels level, this feels level, and then just kind of give it a little pinch right there. As you can see that now that curve is pretty smooth and looks pretty good. We got a good, and then just go ahead and lay that down where we don't see any gaps or anything. We got some dark leather right there, but that's not gonna hurt anything because we'll be sanding that. Even if it was just a tiny bit unlevel, we'll be sanding that out. So then the same thing rings true here. We just want to make sure that this edge, you want to stay right on that edge. And you just saw me peel that apart, because if it was getting a little off, and it wasn't exactly perfectly straight and smooth, you want to pull that up and then reapply it. And you can do that before it gets too stuck on there. And so we'll just come back around and see how that looks. It's gonna look great. So we just come back around this way. And you can see here, we're measuring that edge up just perfectly. And that's what you want to do. Just perfectly edge. And right there, and that dude right in there. And then when you get to this edge, I can see that this edge is going to be a little shy of this edge. So what we want to do is kind of take our fingers and start back here and push our leather up so that it gets smushed up to the edge. And the other thing we can kind of do is we can kind of bend the leather just slightly, ever so slightly, bend that leather a little bit. So we're taking this and bending it this way, and then getting that edge as close as we can to line up. Because the better that you make these edges, the less sanding you have to do. And the better it'll come out. It'll look good. You know, it won't look all chopped up, and you won't have to do a lot of cutting. Because I can see right here, we're going to have to cut a little bit of this leather off, potentially. We'll take some sandpaper and see how easy it sands. If it sands off right out of there, then we'll be okay. If it doesn't, then we'll take our knife and we'll cut that. We'll cut that off. And then we'll come back and take our sandpaper and sand it down. Oh, there we go. Get a little drink of coffee here. Gotta have coffee. Coffee francais, the drink of choice. Okay. So while we were doing that, our other piece here was drying, and it's pretty much ready to go. So you would normally think that you would work from this crease up, but you don't. You want to work from this top back, because you want to make sure that you get, because we'd already had married everything up, and so we'll want to make sure that this edge and this top marries, and this edge of the wallet and this edge of the wallet marries. And then on this type of wallet, the best thing to do is just to put it down and just kind of roll your hands over it, just kind of smash it down. Flip it over here, just kind of. And that way we've got nice and smooth. And then we'll be stitching it from here to here, here to here. That's it. Sand your edges. Maybe put a little edge coating on there, make them look sharp. And then this will be done. Okay, so we'll put that aside. So now we have this, we'll put this aside. And come back to that dude and give it a sand. So I'll go ahead and sand this on camera. Sometimes sanding gets a little boring, but you know, I promised you guys I'm going to show you this cradle to grave, so I'm going to pretty much show you without missing too many steps. The only steps I'm going to miss is redundance. So if I'm doing something to one side, but it takes me 15 minutes to do it, I'm not going to sit there and have you sit through a video to watch the second side to see the exact same thing done. Take 20 minutes of your time, so I'll be respectful of it that way. And then others don't really mind, but and there's a lot of people that do mind, so you just try to appeal to the masses the best you can. You're not going to always please everybody all the time, but you can please some of the people all the time. And please all the people some of the time. Philosophy 101, right? Kind of like that old joke, he who stands on toilet gets high on pot. Indeed. Okay. Okay. So we'll go ahead and give this a brush. Looks pretty good. So we have a nice smooth and a round part there. Around here. Comes around. Has a little inset there. A little inset there. So I'm going to come back up here like so. So did you guys like that little trick that I showed you? Where this wooden stencil, if you look on the other side here, but it has the name of the company, so I didn't want to show it to you. It says pocket 2 times, which means cut it twice. One for this side, one for that side. And then if you need a second pocket to dip down, and you want to keep this ringing true with this, in other words, how it's all fitting together, and you keep the same slopes and everything working together. You just lower that a little bit, draw it on there, cut it, slap it on there, and voila. And we could do this same thing. I have done it before like that. Take this again, this concept, and swing it around to this side. But then what you would do is you would take, maybe even get the wallet to this state, and then cut another piece out like this. Go ahead and hold it up here and look at the edge here and make sure that it's perfectly lined up. And then go ahead and mark your line there and there on the sides. And take it apart and turn it over. Turn this over so that you're on the flesh side. Mark it, and then when you bring this over to it, then what you would do is you would take and put the top of your wallet here on that mark that you just marked. Same thing here, where it comes up here. Just make sure that it's coming right on that same imaginary line. And then go ahead and draw that. And then cut this piece and stick it on there. And then that way, this piece and this piece is perfectly lined up. It's sitting on here, it looks balanced. And then everything else holds true with this wallet that you were going to originally do. You still stitch it the same way, so on and so forth. So, pretty cool idea. So you can take something basic and make a little bit more out of it without changing the entire design of it. Because sometimes when you change the design of a leather product from the original intent, you're going to change some characteristics that may come back and bite you in the rear end. Such as if you're putting, if you're taking a wallet and putting, say a bifold, and you're putting another piece of leather on it that goes around, you can't just take 2 of these outside pieces and expect that to work, because the problem is that as it wraps around, the outside piece of leather has to be a little larger, and so it always has to be, a 1/4 inch, maybe a little bit more. Depends on how thick your wallet is. So that when you bend it, that curve allows the length. So that's one thing you got to keep in mind when you do things like that. When you change the original intent, In this case, it's just changing a flat plane. So it's not really changing too much of anything that's going to hurt us. But you do got to kind of think about it when you're doing it to make sure. So that's one thing about leather. When you're working with it, you've got to constantly be thinking about things like that. You know, how are you going to do things? How's it going to come out? What's it going to look like? What was the original intent, structure of it? How are you changing it? What's it going to change when you change it? You know, the thickness changes. And sometimes thickness changes. It changes the amount of thread that you're going to need to sew the wallet, because, you know, you're going in and out, 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 back and forth. When you add another piece of leather, it makes that leather strip longer. And when you put one on the other side, it makes it even longer. And so, you know, it's pretty
From
amazing.
Anka.org.
So,
When installing weather strips,
Alexa, stop. Sorry about that. I don't know why she just pops up. She's lipping off. I probably won't edit that out either. So, I don't know. We'll see. Sometimes getting in there and editing things is kind of a pain in the rear end. But so let's go ahead and it's kind of some hard leather. I'm smacking that pretty good. It may take my microphone a couple seconds to kind of, when I smack it like that, it may take it a couple seconds to recover. So one thing you'll notice is, because of this shape, it comes down and out, and then around, and then kind of up and around and back like that. So as we use these long tooths, we can put it right on that line. We can come straight down, and that's probably going to be one of the only straight lines or longest straight lines that we can use, even down here. So then what you have to do is to keep things true, is you have to start going with less teeth until you get down to a 2 or maybe even a 1 tooth. It just depends. Usually a 2 tooth. So you generally wouldn't get down to a 1 tooth. It'd have to be some pretty sharp angles. But so to keep this straight, especially, you know, when it's, you have to go with the less teeth, because basically you're doing straight line to make a, like a little S pattern, so to speak, if that makes sense. Let's see how that looks. straight, and then it's going to come around there. So obviously we can't use this here. It kind of looked like you might be able to because it would hit, but if we get this outside tooth to fit, this one's going to be too far that way. So we'll have to go with a two-tooth, and your two-tooth will come right around the corners. And that's what you use to come around corners, is your two-tooth, okay? So we'll just go ahead and I had one of my mentors before teach me that you would take your tools, your diamond punch tools here, and you would hand mark everything, what they call hand mark it. So you would just kind of do one of these numbers. But you got to have some grip in your hands. I used to have grip in my hands, but with my arthritis, I can't do that anymore. So, you know, I would almost have to give it one of these numbers, tap it, and then go, tap it, and do that all the way around. And then that way you're kind of etching out a plan and then coming back and taking your your diamond leather punch and punch your holes. But since I know that this is gonna come out pretty well, I'm not gonna do it like that because it just takes more time. And so sometimes you just got to kind of look at things and think about it and evaluate it and think, why would you do it? Does it make sense? And do you really have to do it? Because some guys do that, and they always do it no matter what, whether they have to or not. It's just a habit they've gotten into. And that's okay. Sometimes doing leather projects is about you doing it the same way you've always done it. Because you know it's going to come out the way it always has. If it's always came out really nice and great, then if you stay consistent, then your projects will always come out nice and great. But you don't have to do things exactly the same way as the next guy every time. There will be some slight differences, and that's what's going to make you different than everybody else. And so it's not to say that their way is wrong or right, or yours is wrong or right. It's just to say, you know, hey, I kind of acknowledge what you're doing there, type thing. But at the end of the day, you just make it your own. Just do it your way. But when you're learning, do it the way your mentor's teaching you, because if you get too far off the beaten path, and you're gonna stumble, and you're gonna really muff something up. Then you're gonna be in trouble. Then you're gonna be mad. especially if you've messed up a really nice project and you don't catch it until it's almost finished. And boy, let me tell you, I've done that before, and that's a bad feeling. Everything just kind of hits your gut, and you're like, oh my gosh, am I really going to throw all this in the trash can? I've done it before. It's not a lot of fun. One, it's a little embarrassing, and two, it's a waste of leather. And sometimes you can go ahead and make it, if it's not going to be perfect, and give it to somebody as a non-perfect. Maybe give it to a little kid, maybe a little 5-year-old kid that wouldn't really care that something was the way it was. And they may take it and think it's the best thing in the world. So you don't always have to throw it in the trash can, but there's been times where you have to because it's totally ruined. And I've been there. Okay. See there how that all came out? Looks real nice. It follows your curves. Goes up into the thing, back around, in, back out, around. Follows the outside. At a 4mm clip that we measured with our wing divider. So now this will be ready for stitching, which we'll do that here in a minute. So we'll put that aside. But now that means this is probably dry, and it probably is. So we'll go ahead and mark this. Go ahead and get this marked up. Now we won't need to come along the bottom because it's already rolled around that side. But we do want to stop our leather stitching at the same place at the very end. So you want to try to start and stop this so many millimeters on each side. I kind of eyeballed that, but you can kind of put if you want to measure it and be a little more accurate, what you can do is you can kind of take your point of your wing divider and put it on the very edge of that tip, and then come back in here and gotta move some stuff around so I can get in here, and then put it on that tip and look at the very edge down here, and it looks like it's almost 11. Let's go ahead and see. I'm sorry, 9. So that's 9, and let's see what this one is. And so put our tip there where we stopped. Come around here with this one, and this one is 7. So we've got 2 millimeters that we need to adjust here. So even though we made these lines, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start here. We're going to roll down. And we're probably gonna make these about at 8. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna start with this one. Come down through here. Stay on the lines. And when you're punching these, whether you've had a lot of experience or not, it still holds true. You've got to make sure that you hold these at a 45-degree angle to your project. Okay, and hold it level this way and this way. And then when you do, then you can go ahead and strike your, and sometimes you want to strike it like that. I hit my camera a little bit. I got a little too close there. So, sorry about that. My light, I've got my phone mounted to the camera holder that's got a suction cup. And it's suctioned to the bottom side of the glass. It is a magnifying glass. And it weighs it down and pulls that arm down, pulls it down. And I'm trying to stay under here so that I can, so you guys can kind of see what I'm doing. Eventually, I'm going to get me some arms and not have to do it this way. I'll get some little arms that'll fit right on the tables, clamp the table, or I have a shelf overhead just above my head that holds all my chemicals. And I could hook it to that. So what I'm going to do here is come back and take this about to the last area that I can. As close as I can. And then so what we need to do is make this side the same as this one. And you could do whatever, you could count the holes. So this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is a six blade tool. So we can go 6, 12, 18. Okay, so 18. So what we'll do is we always hang that first one over so that gives us enough gap away from the top, so we're not, because if we got much closer than that, it would tend to, when it pierced the leather, it would be too close and it would leave the leather thin between here, and then when you put your thread, it could tear the leather or even cut it in half. I've seen that before because this 7-ply polyester, it's some tough stuff. I've seen it cut leather, especially when you're pulling opposing to each other at a 45-degree angle. And then you pull it tight, it just comes together and just strips it and tears it, because what it'll do is it'll put pressure on this and this when you're pulling that tight, because you're going to pull it like that. It's going to rest in those grooves, and if these grooves were closer than they was where they meet, closer to the other one, that's where you have your trouble. So I think if we go right there, this is where you can kind of do a little hand punch. And so you can count them: 6, 12. That's not right. That does sit a little. So that sits. So what I do is I've got this butted up against this table right here. So I've got this butted up against here. And then I'm looking at this here. And it's just on the other side of this line, which is about this, almost the same as that line. Of course, we'll even it up now. It looks pretty good. And then this hole is just inside the line that way. And so if we punch here, that there puts it right inside the hole that way. So yeah, that's what we want to do right there. So it's going to be, that'll be the last set of punches right there. So we'll just come across here like that. And go ahead and punch, and looks pretty even. Even there, and there. Even though this is, I think this is technically a little higher. And we could prove that by looking at it on put it on your board. Put the back end on your board. This one comes right to the line, and that one comes about to the line. So no, they're about the same. Probably just an optical illusion. Which, that's another thing, is you're doing leather. A lot of times when you look at leather pieces, you can get an optical illusion. It looks right, it looks straight. You know, something looks even, and it's not. Or it is even, and it doesn't look even. And then what do? You go ahead and fix it, knowing that fix it, but you're fixing it incorrectly so that it looks right. Or do you not fix it so that it does look correctly? Oh, so those are the things you got to think about. So hopefully that makes sense to you folks. Okay. So for these, we're going to use a beige thread. And so this beige thread's going to pretty much match right there. So we'll want to come up here and do 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a little bit more. It's how I always remembered it when I first started. Gonna do 4 and a little bit more. You know, because some schools of thoughts are you go 3 times the length of your project and a little bit more. But it really depends on the thickness that you're using and, you know, what area is it. All makes a difference. Because everybody has a different school of thought. At the end of the day, you need to do you. Do what fits, what works for your projects. Because once you start doing things, then you'll start doing the same projects basically over and over and over and over again. You might do a few little different pieces here and there, but for the most part, you're going to stick with a certain base of things that you make, and you'll get to making them well. Isn't that kind of cool? I had a little boy made these for me. His name is Logan. I think that's right. I think it's Logan, yeah. And he's a pretty cool kid. He's learning to do leather from his mom that is in the same leather club that I'm in. And we were doing gift exchanges, and that's what I got from them. Not this last year, but I think the previous year. So it was pretty cool. You know, when you're given from one leather maker to another leather maker, you're getting some things that are pretty cool. And most of the time, them knowing they're going to give it to a leather maker, they're going to watch their P's and Q's and be on their toes and be like, yeah, I don't want to, I got to be on my extra best behavior. Okay, so now we're going to thread the eye of the needle here. At this point, 0.006 millimeter thread. Wow, this video is already over an hour. So I'm not going to be able to splice this video. It's going to have to run on its own because it's already too big. So for you guys doing this, if you're ever making YouTubes and you got splicing software, you want to put a couple YouTubes together or something, that's fine. But typically you can't go over the 1 gig limit per upload. So I can take a 1 gig and upload it, which is about 20 minutes to half an hour at 1080p, 4 megabit, 1080p, and which is, you know, about where you want to be at, I don't know, 720 frames per, or 30 frames per second, okay, as far as the quality goes. And you'll get about 20 to 30 minutes for 1 gig. And then so you could take, you know, part of a video and part of another video, be 20 and 20. And you could upload this one, and then splice them together. You know, it looked like a complete video with really no breaks in between, okay? But when you go over the 1 gig, you can't do that. You can't take more than 1 gig and upload it. It'll kick it out. So your 1 gigs have to stand alone. So if you ever do that, you'll have to keep that in mind. And you have to keep an eye on the time, which apparently I didn't do a very good job today. So we're going to go ahead and stitch this. So let's go ahead and bring our stitching pony over here. And I got this stitching pony when I first started doing this, because I knew I was going to, originally I wanted to do this as a, kind of as a retirement piece. So I was going to be retired, and this is what I was going to do to make a little extra money, okay? And so I was buying things that would, you know, help me. So rather than just a stitching pony, which you put under the seat of your pants and you sit on it, which is a little uncomfortable, opposed to buying a stitching horse that you sit on top of, which is what this is. And of course, this is all built out of oak. It's all custom, okay? God builds them custom. And they're about $650. What was that, 10 years ago? I'm sure they're more than that now. And so it was a nice investment, you know. And then you got to sell quite a few wallets at $80 a wallet to pay for it. Because you got to take your cost out of it. Your cost and your overhead. You got to take that out, and then anything, and then your materials, and then whatever's left is your profitability. But don't ever let that affect your quality, because if you do that, then you're going to suffer like a lot of these leather folks do. They throw caution to the wind, so to speak. And and then they give you bad product because they elect to go down a specific road so they didn't get too hurt. Because sometimes your actions and the way you do things is going to affect what you're actually getting paid. And there's not a worse feeling knowing that you're doing your best and sweating your you know what off, and you're losing money because you got to give stuff away, or practically, or give them a refund or whatever it is because you had a problem. It always sucks. But it is what it is. Some of these holes are just fine. And some of them seem like they're too tight. Okay, get this stitched up here. Looking at the clock, it's going to be time to go to bed here real soon. And then so usually after I stitch and do my 2 back stitches, I usually like to put my thread through on the inside. Of course, when you have a 2-sided wallet like this, you don't have an inside and outside. So you just got to pick a side. I'm going to say left side. So then when I turn this thing around, then I'll do right side, and it'll keep the 2 areas in which we've got to singe those on the same side. That way everything looks even. So when you backstitch a project, and then you put a little burn mark, so to speak, right there, you want to do that same burn mark on that side. And it's not necessarily marking the leather, it's marking, but it could be marking the leather too. So, but you just want it to look even. So so the other thing holds true too. So if you start here and you do a back stitch to start with so that it looks good. So, you start here, come up, and then back stitch. And then you follow yourself all the way down. Then you come up here and you back stitch, right? Or come all the way down here, and then back stitch coming up to here. You do the same thing on that side. That way it'll match. Otherwise, it'll look off. It'll be unbalanced, as they call it. And you don't want things unbalanced. So, showing you some different techniques here as I think about them as I'm going through this project. So hopefully you guys are learning some things. Put it down in the comment. Are you learning some things? Did I tell you some things that you didn't know about? I'll probably take I gotta figure out how to do it, but for people that subscribe to my channel and that watch what I'm doing and make their own product from learning from my channel, I'm gonna have you contact me and say, hey Frank, I just started in the leather business, XYZ, and been watching your videos. And I missed that altogether. And so I've been practicing on all of the steps that you do. And here's what it looks like. And I want to take the best looking, just a photograph. And I want to take the best looking, and you can just, send it to me either by mail or email. But, or text, I guess I should say. And then whoever's got the coolest, best looking project that has the least amount of experience, I'll send you a free wallet, a free Frank's Fine leather wallet that I personally made. I just thought of that just now, so I guess I can just go ahead and start running that. So I guess I got to pick a date to cut that off. Let's see. Let's give it till the end of the year. How about that? Let's give it to Christmas area. This is September. It's almost over September, so we have October, November. So, maybe we'll pick some time in the first-ish week of December to cut the time off to send those photos in. And then whoever has done that, I will, and put your email down there, obviously, and how to contact you, how to email you or text you or whatever. So that'll be kind of cool. So the person that has watched my videos, doesn't have a lot of experience under their belt, basically making the videos from the way I'm teaching you. To do leather, send that in. The person that's is the best beginner, let's put it that way, best beginner, I'll send them a free wallet. And maybe I'll go ahead and have a second place and send them a little wallet. Maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe I'll send first place a big wallet and second place a smaller wallet that I've made personally, of course. That is going to be one. There we go. Try to get him in there. He's a little tight. That's another thing. I'm going to get some good camera holders and maybe even better cameras. I can give you a good Sometimes when you use your pricking irons and you don't get them in there real good, or you don't, you punch them through and you don't get them through good enough, it makes for a tight hole on the opposite side. This side, it makes it a nice hole because you're going into the hole and everything's folding in. So, you know, it looks big, and it is big, of course. And the other side is basically just as big, but it's the way it's cut. The blades have came out of the cut on that side. Yeah. And so come on. There we go. There we go. So I hope you all are having fun today, tonight, whatever your choice of the day is. I'm glad. Ouch. So there you go. Caught on camera. Got poked in the thumb. Should I edit that out? Yeah. just realized that I didn't catch any of that stitching. Probably edit that out.